Have you ever noticed that as the years go by, something inside you feels quieter? Not depressed, just softer somehow, like the world lost a bit of its color without you realizing when it happened. Maybe laughter doesn't come as easily as it once did. Maybe there's a strange sadness that appears in the afternoon, even on days when everything in your life seems fine. Or maybe it's a deeper feeling, a sense of emptiness, as if part of your spark slowly dimmed, little by little, without any clear reason. Many women describe it the same way. It's not depression exactly. I'm grateful for my life, but something feels missing. I don't feel like myself anymore. If any of this feels familiar, please hear this first. It's not your fault. It's not a weakness. It's not a lack of gratitude. And it's not just age. After 60, especially after menopause, a woman's body goes through changes that few people truly explain. Hormones shift, yes, but what often goes unnoticed is how deeply these changes affect the brain. One of the most impacted systems is the one responsible for serotonin, a neurotransmitter that helps regulate mood, calmness, emotional resilience, sleep quality, and even how safe you feel inside your own body. When serotonin levels quietly decline, life can start to feel heavier. Anxiety may appear without a clear cause. Sleep becomes lighter or more fragmented. Joy feels more distant. And the most painful part is that many women begin to blame themselves, thinking, maybe this is just how life is now. But here is something most women were never told. In many cases, this emotional shift is not permanent. In just a moment, I'm going to share one simple, natural ingredient that plays a direct role in supporting serotonin production in women over 60. It doesn't force your brain. It doesn't numb your emotions. And it doesn't create dependence. Instead, it works gently with your body by providing something that often becomes harder to access after menopause: the raw material your brain needs to restore balance naturally. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this change happens, how this ingredient supports serotonin at its source, and how to use it in a way that fits calmly and safely into your daily life, without relying on antidepressants or harsh stimulants. If content like this helps you feel understood, supported, and informed, subscribing to the channel. After menopause, it's not just hormones that shift. The entire communication system between your gut and your brain changes. This affects how your body produces serotonin, even if you're eating well and doing everything you were taught to do. That's why so many women say, I eat healthy but my mood is still low. I try to stay active but my anxiety won't fully go away. I don't want antidepressants but I don't want to feel like this forever either. And this is where things get interesting. Researchers began noticing that certain women over 60 were able to stabilize mood, sleep more deeply, and feel emotionally lighter without medication, simply by restoring one missing link in serotonin production. Not a drug, not a hormone, not a stimulant, but a natural ingredient that your body already knows how to use. It just doesn't access it efficiently anymore after menopause. This ingredient doesn't force serotonin. It doesn't numb emotions. It doesn't create dependence. Instead, it supports the raw material and conditions your brain needs to produce serotonin the way it used to, gently, steadily, and safely. What makes this especially important for women over 60 is this. Many antidepressants work by blocking serotonin reuptake, meaning they try to trap serotonin that's already there. But if your brain isn't producing enough serotonin to begin with, that approach often leads to side effects without truly restoring emotional balance. This is why so many women say medications make them feel emotionally flat, disconnected, tired but still restless, not sad, but not happy either. The ingredient we're discussing today works upstream, not downstream. It supports serotonin production at the source, the gut-brain connection, nervous system calmness, sleep-wake rhythm stability, and the most surprising part? Clinical observations show it can be effective, even if you haven't changed anything else yet. No intense exercise, no complicated routines, no drastic lifestyle overhaul. Later in this video, I'll also show you how combining this ingredient with one simple daily habit can significantly amplify its effect, especially for sleep and evening anxiety. Before we go any further, let me ask you something, and I'd really love for you to share this in the comments. Have you noticed changes in your mood, sleep, or emotional balance after 60? Even subtle ones, feeling a little more anxious, less joyful, or not quite like yourself anymore. If this sounds familiar, write yes in the comments. You're not alone. and your experience matters more than you might think. Now, let's talk about the ingredient that plays such a crucial role in serotonin balance for women over 60. It's called tryptophan. Tryptophan is an essential amino acid. That means your body cannot make it on its own. You must get it from food. And here's the key point most women were never told. Serotonin cannot exist without tryptophan. Every molecule of serotonin your brain produces starts as tryptophan. It is the raw material, the foundation. But after 60, several things change at the same time. Your gut absorbs tryptophan less efficiently, more tryptophan gets diverted toward stress and inflammation pathways, estrogen decline disrupts how tryptophan is converted into serotonin, the gut-brain communication weakens, so even if you're eating protein, even if you're doing everything right, your brain may still be running low on serotonin building blocks. This is why many women feel emotionally off without understanding why. Now, it's important to clarify something. Tryptophan is not a drug, it doesn't sedate you, it doesn't artificially alter your mood. Instead, it supports your body's natural serotonin pathway, the same one you relied on for decades before menopause. Think of it like this. Your brain is not broken. The factory is still there. But it's missing supplies. Tryptophan doesn't force happiness. It simply gives your brain the material it needs to restore emotional balance gradually and naturally. What makes tryptophan especially relevant for women over 60 is that it also supports calm nervous system signaling, evening relaxation and sleep readiness, emotional resilience under mild stress, a more stable mood throughout the day, and unlike medications that try to manipulate serotonin after it's already been released, tryptophan works upstream, before serotonin is even created. This upstream approach is one reason many women report feeling more like themselves, emotionally lighter, not numb, calmer without feeling tired, better sleep without grogginess. But there's an important nuance we need to address next. Not all tryptophan works the same way in the body after 60, and without the right conditions, much of it never becomes serotonin at all. That's why the next step is critical. Let's talk about what actually blocks serotonin production in women after menopause, even when tryptophan is present. Now that we understand what blocks serotonin production after 60, let's talk about what actually happens when the process works properly. Serotonin isn't created by chance or emotion alone. It follows a very specific biological pathway, and once you understand this pathway, the emotional changes you've experienced begin to make sense in a much deeper and more compassionate way. When you consume tryptophan, it first travels through your digestive system. From there, it must be properly absorbed in the gut, safely transported through the bloodstream, allowed to cross the blood-brain barrier, and finally converted into serotonin inside the brain. Each one of these steps depends on supportive internal conditions. After menopause, those conditions often weaken, which is why serotonin production slows down even when tryptophan is present in the diet. Under the right circumstances, tryptophan is converted into a compound called 5-HTP, which acts like a bridge between nutrition and neurotransmitters. From there, 5-HTP is converted into serotonin. This conversion is not automatic. It depends on key nutrients such as vitamin B6, magnesium, and iron, as well as a calm nervous system and low levels of chronic inflammation. If even one of these elements is missing, the entire process becomes less efficient. This explains something many women find confusing and even frustrating. They may eat foods rich in tryptophan, yet still feel anxious, emotionally flat, restless, or low. The issue is not the ingredient itself. The issue is the internal environment of the body. When the gut is inflamed, tryptophan is often diverted away from serotonin production and into stress-related pathways. When blood sugar fluctuates, serotonin signaling becomes unstable. And when sleep is disrupted, the natural nighttime conversion of serotonin into melatonin suffers, leading to poor rest and increased emotional vulnerability the next day. But when these internal conditions are gently corrected, something remarkable begins to happen. Serotonin production becomes steadier rather than spiky. Mood lifts without emotional numbness. Sleep deepens naturally. Anxiety softens instead of being suppressed. This is why women who support serotonin upstream often say they feel calmer but still like themselves, emotionally lighter without feeling disconnected, and more stable throughout the day without relying on stimulants or sedatives. The goal is not to flood the brain with serotonin or artificially force happiness. The goal is to restore rhythm and balance. Your brain was designed to regulate mood naturally for decades of your life. It hasn't lost that ability. It simply needs the right signals again. And this is where strategy matters. In the next step, I'll show you what research and clinical observations reveal about supporting serotonin naturally in women over 60, and why this approach differs so dramatically from conventional solutions. Let's look at what the science actually shows. Multiple studies have confirmed that serotonin production and signaling decline significantly after menopause, largely due to reduced estrogen and changes in gut metabolism. Researchers have also observed that women over 60 often experience what is known as serotonergic resistance, meaning the brain becomes less responsive to serotonin signals, even when levels appear adequate. This helps explain why conventional approaches that focus only on serotonin reuptake frequently fail to restore emotional balance in older women. What has shown more promising results is an upstream approach that supports serotonin production at the source. Clinical research involving tryptophan and its metabolic pathways has demonstrated improvements in mood stability, sleep quality, and perceived emotional well-being, particularly in older adults with mild anxiety or low mood. These effects tend to be gradual and cumulative rather than immediate or stimulating, which is precisely what makes them suitable for women over 60. One notable finding across multiple trials is that when tryptophan availability is restored under supportive conditions, the brain appears to regain its natural ability to regulate mood rhythms. Instead of sharp emotional highs and lows, participants report feeling calmer, more emotionally grounded, and better able to cope with everyday stressors. Importantly, these improvements occur without the emotional flattening or cognitive dulling often associated with certain medications. Research has also highlighted the close relationship between serotonin and sleep architecture in older women. Improved serotonin support has been associated with faster sleep onset, fewer nighttime awakenings, and more restorative deep sleep. Since poor sleep itself further reduces serotonin availability, this creates a positive feedback loop where better sleep supports better mood, and better mood supports better sleep. In real-world clinical settings, practitioners working with postmenopausal women have observed similar outcomes. Women frequently describe feeling more like themselves again, not euphoric or artificially uplifted, but emotionally steadier and more resilient. Many report renewed interest in daily activities, improved patience, and a quieter mental state, especially in the evening hours when anxiety often peaks. It's important to note that these studies and observations do not suggest that nutritional serotonin support replaces medical care when it's needed. Rather, they show that for many women with mild to moderate emotional imbalance, addressing serotonin production naturally can be a powerful foundational strategy. This approach respects the body's physiology instead of overriding it, which is especially important during the later stages of life. Taken together, the science points to a reassuring conclusion. Emotional changes after 60 are not a sign that the brain is failing. They reflect a system that needs more precise support. And when that support is provided in a way the body recognizes, emotional balance can often be restored more gently than many women were led to believe. At this point, it's important to pause and talk honestly about expectations. When we discuss natural ways to support serotonin, especially after 60, clarity and safety matter more than excitement or bold promises. This approach is not a miracle cure. It's not designed to erase every difficult emotion or force constant happiness. And it's certainly not about replacing professional medical care when it's truly needed. What supporting serotonin naturally can do is help restore balance where decline has quietly occurred. It works gradually, respectfully, and in alignment with how the body was designed to function. This is why results tend to feel subtle at first, then increasingly noticeable over time rather than sudden or overwhelming. Most women who benefit from this approach describe improvements such as feeling emotionally steadier throughout the day, sleeping more deeply, and experiencing less background anxiety, especially in the evening. These changes usually unfold over weeks, not days. And that slower pace is actually a sign that the nervous system is adjusting in a healthy way. Safety is especially important after 60, because the body processes nutrients differently. While tryptophan is a natural amino acid found in food, supplementation or concentrated forms should always be approached thoughtfully. Women who take antidepressants, mood stabilizers, or medications that affect serotonin should speak with their healthcare provider before making changes. This is not because the approach is dangerous, but because combining strategies without guidance can create imbalance. It's also important to understand that serotonin does not operate in isolation. Blood sugar instability, chronic stress, poor sleep, and unresolved inflammation can all blunt the effectiveness of any serotonin support strategy. That's why this approach works best as part of a broader, gentle lifestyle framework, rather than as a standalone fix. Another realistic expectation to keep in mind is emotional range. Supporting serotonin doesn't remove sadness, grief, or emotional depth. In fact, many women report feeling more connected to their emotions, not less. The difference is that emotions become manageable rather than overwhelming, and mood no longer feels unpredictable or fragile. If you've been living with emotional discomfort for a long time, it's natural to want fast relief. But with serotonin, patience is part of the healing process. Your brain is relearning a rhythm it once maintained effortlessly. That takes time, consistency, and compassion toward yourself. The most encouraging part is this. For women with mild anxiety, low mood, or emotional fatigue after menopause, this approach often becomes a foundation rather than a temporary solution. It supports emotional resilience, not dependence. Now that you understand why serotonin changes after 60, how tryptophan supports its production, and what to realistically expect from this approach, the natural next question becomes very practical. How do I actually use this in my daily life? Because knowledge alone doesn't change how you feel. What changes emotional balance is consistent, simple action, especially action that fits naturally into your routine without creating stress or pressure. This is where many women get overwhelmed. They're given long lists of supplements, complicated protocols, or advice that feels more exhausting than helpful. That's not what this is about. Supporting serotonin after menopause doesn't require perfection. It requires alignment. Small, intentional choices made consistently can gently shift brain chemistry over time, without forcing your body or overwhelming your nervous system. In this next part of the video, we're going to talk about everyday foods and simple habits that naturally support serotonin production and help tryptophan do its job more effectively. These are not exotic ingredients or strict diets. They are familiar, accessible options that work with your physiology after 60. What's important to understand is that serotonin is influenced not just by what you consume, but when and how you consume it. Timing, combinations, and daily rhythms matter more now than they did earlier in life. Certain foods help tryptophan cross into the brain more easily. Others reduce inflammation or stabilize blood sugar, creating a more supportive environment for serotonin to thrive. This is also where many women begin to notice meaningful changes. Not because they're doing something extreme, but because they're finally supporting the process instead of fighting it. When serotonin production becomes more efficient, emotional balance often follows naturally. You don't need to apply everything at once. In fact, I don't recommend that. The goal is to choose one or two supportive habits that feel manageable, and let them become part of your routine. Over time, those small shifts accumulate into noticeable emotional stability, better sleep, and a calmer inner state. As we move forward, I encourage you to listen not with the intention of doing everything perfectly, but with curiosity. Notice which suggestions resonate with your lifestyle and emotional needs right now. Your body is an intelligent system, and it often responds best to gentle, consistent care rather than aggressive intervention. The goal here is not to follow a strict plan or memorize complex rules, but to understand which foods and simple combinations create the right internal environment for tryptophan to become serotonin more efficiently. The first and most important category is protein sources rich in tryptophan, especially those that are easy to digest. Foods like eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, turkey, chicken, and salmon provide the raw material your brain needs to produce serotonin. For women over 60, digestion is often gentler earlier in the day, so consuming these foods at breakfast or lunch can improve absorption and reduce digestive discomfort. Pairing protein with a small amount of complex carbohydrates, such as oats, quinoa, or fruit, helps tryptophan cross the blood-brain barrier more effectively. The second category is magnesium-rich foods, which play a critical role in calming the nervous system and supporting the enzymatic conversion of tryptophan. Magnesium helps quiet overactive stress signals that compete with serotonin production. Foods like leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, almonds, avocado, and dark chocolate in small amounts can be especially supportive. Many women notice improved sleep quality when magnesium-rich foods are included in the evening meal. Next are vitamin B6 sources, which are essential for converting tryptophan into 5-HTP and then into serotonin. Without adequate B6, the process slows down significantly. Foods such as bananas, chickpeas, salmon, and fortified whole grains provide gentle, food-based support. Including these foods regularly helps ensure serotonin production remains steady rather than inconsistent. Another important factor is blood sugar stability. Fluctuating blood sugar can disrupt serotonin signaling and increase anxiety, especially in the late afternoon and evening. To avoid this, aim for meals that combine protein, healthy fats, and fiber. For example, Greek yogurt with berries and nuts, eggs with vegetables and olive oil, or salmon with quinoa and greens. These balanced combinations prevent energy crashes that often mimic emotional distress. The fifth category focuses on gut-supportive foods, since the gut-brain connection becomes more fragile with age. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, and small amounts of sauerkraut can help improve nutrient absorption and reduce inflammation that interferes with serotonin pathways. A healthier gut environment allows tryptophan to be used for serotonin, rather than diverted into stress-related metabolic pathways. Timing also matters. Many women benefit from a tryptophan-supportive evening snack about 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. A small portion of cottage cheese with fruit, yogurt with honey, or a banana with a few nuts can help support nighttime serotonin and its conversion into melatonin, improving sleep quality without sedation. It's important to remember that more is not better. Overloading the body with protein or supplements can create digestive stress, which works against serotonin production. Consistency and balance matter far more than quantity. Choose foods you enjoy and tolerate well, and let them become part of your routine rather than a temporary effort. If this list feels like a lot, start small. Choose one supportive food or combination, and use it consistently for a week or two. Pay attention to how your mood, sleep, and energy respond. Emotional balance often improves gradually, and subtle shifts are a sign the process is working. The emotional changes you've experienced after 60 were never a sign that something was wrong with you. They were a message from your body, a quiet request for a different kind of support during this stage of life. For many women, the most painful part of emotional imbalance isn't the sadness or anxiety itself. It's the belief that this is just how life is now, that the warmth, excitement, and inner calm you once felt are somehow behind you. But what science and real-life experience continue to show is that emotional balance is not something you age out of. It's something you learn to support differently. Serotonin plays a powerful role in how safe, connected, and emotionally grounded you feel in your own body. When its production is gently supported, many women rediscover a sense of steadiness they thought was lost. Not artificial happiness, not constant positivity, but a calm emotional baseline that makes everyday life feel lighter again. This journey doesn't require perfection. It doesn't demand drastic change or rigid routines. It begins with small, thoughtful choices. A nourishing meal, a supportive evening habit, a deeper understanding of how your body works now. Over time, these small choices build emotional resilience and restore trust in your own internal rhythms. If you're 65, 75, or even 85, it is not too late. Your brain remains adaptable, your nervous system remains responsive, and your body still knows how to move toward balance when given the right signals. Start gently. Choose one food, one habit, one moment of care, and let that be enough for today. Emotional well-being is not about doing more. It's about doing what aligns with you now. If this video helped you feel understood or gave you a new perspective, consider subscribing to the channel. See you in the next video.